Hi guys, thanks for tuning in to ForgottenWeapons.com. Today we're going to take a look at a neat early automatic pistol. This is a Frommer model of 1910. It's a fairly rare gun. I want to start with just a little brief history of the designer, Rudolf Frommer. He was a Hungarian. What's kind of interesting, between 1900 and 1934 he amassed more than 100 patents in his name. But he was not an educated engineer. He actually went to university in Budapest and studied business administration, of all things. And in 1896, he found himself hired by a large bank in Budapest, which at that time was taking over the FEG concern, big firearms manufacturer in Hungary. They were having some serious financial problems, and being a business administration type guy, he ended up involved working in FEG, and kind of, I guess, his inner engineer came out and he kind of went nuts. He was an extremely prolific and successful designer. This pistol, the original version of this pistol was patented in 1901, and there was a model 1901 which looked fairly similar. The most recognizable two differences: it did not have a grip safety, and it did have a manual safety. And it was one of those early pistols that had a permanently fixed box magazine that was fed from the top by a stripper clip, held 10 rounds. In 1906, they updated the gun. They made some of the parts easier to manufacture. So I should say the 1901 was only manufactured for 2 or 3 years, and not very many of them were made. The 1906 model was made for about 4 years. Still not that many made, probably not more than 2,000 or 3,000 of those two early models combined. Over the course of production of the model 1906, they changed from the internal permanent magazine to a detachable box magazine. The 1910, which is what we have here, was the first version that incorporated a grip safety, and as a result has no manual safety to match. Further modified some of the parts to make them a little easier to manufacture. And what's kind of interesting about this pistol is that first of all, it fires a tiny cartridge. It is the 7.65 Frommer, also known as the 7.65 Rothsauer. So a 32 caliber projectile. It was only a 13 millimeter case. So just for comparison's sake, I have a 32 ACP here, which we normally think of as a little tiny cartridge. Well, in comparison to the Frommer's magazine, it's clearly longer. The Frommer cartridge was several millimeters shorter than a 32 auto. So it was a very weak, small cartridge. And yet, Frommer designed this pistol with a long-recoil locked-breech system, which is far in excess of anything it would mechanically need to function effectively. So this has the same locking system as, well, the other three reasonably well-known guns that are long-recoil systems are the French Chauchat light machine gun, or automatic rifle, the Remington Model 8 and Model 81 self-loading rifles, and the Remington Model 11 semi-auto shotgun. The idea with long recoil is that the bolt and the barrel are locked together and recoil for the full length of the full distance of the cartridge. Then the bolt stays open, the barrel goes forward, and as soon as the barrel's all the way forward, the bolt releases, loads a new cartridge into the magazine. We can actually demonstrate that with a pencil. So as you can see, the bolt is in the barrel assembly, locked, goes all the way back. You hear that click. That is the bolt locking in place. And now the barrel comes forward, and you can see that the action, or the chamber, is now open. As soon as the barrel goes far enough forward, the empty case that's in there will get flipped out. And then, this one's a little bit sticky, when the barrel comes all the way forward, it trips the bolt, and the bolt closes, chambering a new cartridge. So really a way overly complicated mechanism for such a little tiny wimpy pistol. The other thing that I find interesting about this is that it has this collection of half extremely old style, very early and unergonomic controls, and that it also has a number of very modern controls that we'd recognize today. So for example, the magazine release is right here at the side of the trigger guard, which is exactly where we still have mag releases today. Mags don't drop free, but I guess that's asking a little much of a 1910 design. This button right here this button is a bolt release. So again, assuming I'm right-handed. It falls right under my thumb. That's an extremely ergonomic, very modern style control. The grip safety, however, and in fact the grip in general is terrible. It's really actually quite difficult to effectively depress this grip safety without having kind of this goofy low grip on the pistol. It also has no hammer block, so you can see I can depress the firing pin just by smacking the back of the hammer. So if you had this pistol, if you're carrying this with a loaded chamber, even without messing with the grip safety, an impact to the hammer will fire it, which is considered horrifically unsafe today. Disassembly of this is actually pretty cool and easy. It starts with this screw. It has a little spring-loaded detent. In fact, we'll find that spring-loaded detents are a serious theme of the Frommer pistols. So I push that in, and then I can unscrew this. That screw comes out. Now, flipping the gun over, the whole side plate comes up, along with side grip. Now we have access to all the guts of the pistol. So there's some cool features in here. First of all, the amount of machining that had to go into this thing is phenomenal. You can clearly see why they kept refining this to try and make it simpler. And eventually, by 1912, they abandoned this style of design entirely and replaced it with the Frommer stop, which is, it still uses a long recoil locked bolt system, but it's much simpler to manufacture. So, to use this guy as an example, so this piece has a pin that's machined solidly, permanently into the frame, and its spring is provided by this little detent. So this piece you can rotate 90 degrees and take out, and it's got a little tiny spring in there. So this is the bolt stop, and that detent is what keeps it taut in position. There's a lot of that. For example, our grip safety here, this one, the pin is machined into the grip safety piece, and there's a hole in the frame right down in there. And once again, we have one of these little spring-loaded detents right here to keep tension on it. Got that. You can see the hammer spring is right in here. We can see how this functions. We can take this guy out. You can see we've got all these little pins built into the frame, even the trigger. So that's how all the internal pieces come out. It looks like a nightmare. It's actually not that difficult to take apart. Now, the mechanism up top, we're going to start by unscrewing the barrel nut at the front. That comes off. Then that allows us to take off this cap. This, we have a little slot there and a pin, a square pin on the barrel. So this locks in place by going on and then rotating. I unscrewed it when I was taking off the front plug. So that comes off. Now we can take out, this is the barrel spring. Alright guys, I apologize if the video looks a little different. Our main camera went down and we're moving to the backup camera. To go farther, I've got the barrel spring out. I need to take this pin out, which will allow me to take the guts out the back. So this is the bolt spring. Now we can pull the barrel assembly out of the pistol, and we can pull the bolt out of the barrel. So isn't that just the cutest, most adorable little rotating bolt you have ever seen? So that's the firing pin right there. That gets hit directly by the hammer. Comes out the front like that. You can see it has a little spiral track in it, 2 of them actually. So pins inside the bolt carrier force this guy to rotate. So this is unlocked when it's traveling, and then when it's all the way in battery, it rotates and locks. A little extractor. We have an ejector that's fixed or spring-loaded right here in the barrel assembly. That's our ejector. The locking lugs are machined right here, here, and there into the barrel assembly. So that is the inside of a long-recoil Frommer pistol. Now to reassemble it, you can see we have 2 little tracks right here, and then the 3rd large locking lug sits in the bottom. That 3rd large locking lug is what picks up a cartridge out of the magazine. So when it's going forward, that, hold the follower down, that travels right there and picks up a new cartridge. And when the magazine is empty, that block at the back of the follower locks the bolt open. So yeah, 1901 design, and this locks open on an empty magazine. Another element, another example of the cool modern tech that went into this pistol. So here's a good view. You can see the bolt rotating. So you can see the bolt rotating when it fully closes. That's locked. Then this whole assembly travels backwards until it reaches full travel. Then the bolt locks in place. The barrel comes forward because it's got a big spring up here on the front. Bolt comes forward to about there. See, our ejector comes out, pops the empty case out. When the barrel's fully forward, the bolt releases, the bolt comes forward, loads a new cartridge, locks, and is ready to fire with the firing pin right there. Alright, so let's take a look at the mechanics of the firing system here. Go ahead and take the magazine out. It looks cool, but it hides a lot of the parts. So this is our grip safety right here. This is our hammer, obviously. This is our hammer spring. And then this piece in here is our sear. So the trigger's over here. Trigger hits the sear. When the sear pivots, this hook on the sear connects to this hook on the hammer. So when I cock the gun, you can see it's now cocked. It's held in place right there. Now if I try to pull the trigger with the grip safety not depressed, the trigger hits the sear, but the sear is blocked by the grip safety right here. So when I depress the grip safety, you can see the 2 prongs on it here, here and here, both disengage. This top prong actually will hold the hammer open even if the sear engagement has broken. Once I depress the grip safety, now the sear can pivot. The hammer spring pivots the hammer down, hits the firing pin, fires the gun. And then of course recoil recocks the hammer. Alright, so I don't have any of the 7.65 Frommer ammunition to fire this yet. I'm working on that. So we don't have any shooting video for you. However, thought it'd be cool to take a look at this particularly unusual early pistol. As I mentioned, in 1912, Frommer simplified this greatly to the Frommer Stop, which looks much more like a typical pistol. The ergonomics of this design are pretty lousy. The sights are tiny. The grip is very awkward. In order to get a grip high enough to feel comfortable for a modern shooter, you're resting your hand up here and you're not really engaging the grip safety, so it's difficult to work. Models after this, the 27M or 29M and then the 37M FEG pistols finally went to just a plain blowback system, which is all you would need for cartridges like this. There is one particular mistake that's printed in a number of books about the 1910 especially. This is not 32 automatic. It will not fit 32 automatic, no way. The whole frame is just too small for it. The Frommer Stop was chambered for a 7.65, basically for a cartridge that was identical in dimension to 32 ACP, but a little bit hotter. Most Frommer Stops will run tolerably well with 32 ammo. So just something to keep in mind if you decide to pick up a couple FEG pistols of your own. So, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching, and tune in again to ForgottenWeapons.com.